All right, guys, don't hit that dial. We have another episode of the End Zone Club where, as you know, we have conversation that is designed to push us from walking and just having potential to actually fulfilling our purpose. And this is your host, none other than Anthony Mitchell Jr., and I am blessed, have been graced to be able to come in your presence again with another episode. Typically, I have a few preliminaries I like to knock out. Today, I don't have many outside of asking you guys to like, share, subscribe, and rate to this podcast. I feel like we've got some great content, but when you guys aren't doing your engaging part, it kind of hurts me from being able to be pushed by the platforms we're on into further listenership by, I guess I can't say viewers because they're not physically viewing, but those who are listening / supporters. With that said, guys, we're back. We're back. Again, there's always a hiatus. And this time, again, another military absence. As you guys know, there was a hurricane. Hurricane Ian is what I call it here in the South. Maybe y'all call it Ian or whatever you call it. It was a hurricane that had potential devastation that was getting ready to rock the state of Florida. And being as we are, I was one of those tapped from the state of Tennessee to go and to help. Was quite an exhilarating experience. We actually we joined convoy with an Army battalion, and we drove down there in Humvees. Now, let me be very clear when I say this. A Humvee, your first time riding it, if you're got any leg space, meaning you're just a normal sized human being, it's going to be very uncomfortable, especially when you start adding in luggage and just various things. It can get very uncomfortable fast. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But it made me feel very Rambo-ish doing military things and that kind of setting. You know, I have to laugh about it because amongst the ranks of military, in case you didn't know, sometimes we poke fun at each other. There were certain misnomers that every branch has for the other branch, and it's a camaraderie. You know, Air Force laughs at the Army, Army laughs at Air Force, Marines want to be stronger than everybody, and then there's the Navy, and sometimes the Coast Guard is forgotten, and the Space Force is just too new to really be in that. But yeah, we went, got a chance to really not do much, and that's a story for another day. But man, in the process, I as we were going down to Florida, dropped a video on TikTok. Video was less than 15 seconds, and it was basically just me stating, hey guys, help is on the way. Felt good about it. I mean, I didn't think much about it. Didn't even think anybody was gonna take the time to even listen. To guys, man, over 68,000 views, over 12,000 likes. I mean, people were resharing it and duetting it because in that moment, as you're living in this situation where the storms are beating and the winds are doing what they're doing and people are trapped in homes, just to hear a positive word, it blessed a lot of people. And man, I mean, just like overnight, my page grew over 1,000. You hear me? Over 1,000 new supporters. Man, that's a blessing. But with that being said, I don't want to segue away from today's topic because today's topic kind of goes hand in hand with the foundation I'm laying, and that is having people that will grow with you. Having people that'll grow with you. One thing about it, back to the viral TikTok video, where I'm coming from now is having myself lived through Hurricane Katrina. Man, we were South Mississippi, not far from the Gulf Coast. Went 18 days, 18 days without power. During that time, I mean, food spoiled. We had damage to our home. Some of our neighbors had damages. I mean, we had trees that fell across the street, right? In a way that you couldn't get out of our community. So brothers were out there day and night with chainsaws. We were cutting up wood. I mean, it felt like a Davy Crockett experience. You know, the old Yeller, like the old Disney movies used to be like. It felt like we were about that life at that time. And after having lived through that, now it's like a part of my heart goes out to anybody else that would be experiencing devastation due to what we consider to be acts of God, which are things we can't control, right? And just in that 15 seconds, where I'm coming from is from a place of having lived through that. These are like things you wish somebody would say to you when you were going through Katrina. Of course, we didn't really have social media to the brunt effect that we have it now, where you have viral videos or you're able to interface and interact with people like we are now. But it's like now that these platforms are out here, we want to use it for the good. With that said, I've over the course of the last few days, there's been a reoccurring conversation that has taken place. It feels like every avenue I turn to, I keep hearing this. Have you guys ever had this experience where maybe you go to sleep and maybe you see certain numbers in your head and then you wake up, you look at the clock and it's, for me, those numbers are always 1, 2, 3, 4. I see that often. Or, you look at this and what time you got your last call, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe you've had this experience where you go to the car lot, right? You find a car you like. Never noticed the car really before anybody else having it, but from the moment you leave that car lot to the time you come back, it's like, dude, I've seen this car so many times all around the city now. I used to have a Chrysler Sebring. I guess that's when the Chrysler 300s were really, really big, and the Challengers and Avengers, and that series of cars were coming out. Well, I had a 200 Chrysler Sebring, and I never noticed anybody with that car. But it's like the moment I drove mine off the lot, every stop sign, every red light, every grocery store, every Walmart, I noticed that car in the parking lot. And I'm like, why did I not notice this until now? But it's like now that I got something new in my life, maybe I'm growing, that now I am aware of this car's presence or these numbers' presence or whatever it is. And it's like, man, I didn't notice that before. Well, circling back, there's been this conversation that I guess I've heard it preached about, just got off of a prayer call, and this was the topic of conversation. But it's like, there's going to be times in this life where it pays to have people that you can talk to. Let me explain. Because a lot of times I'm finding out, even as an adult, there's like a level of conversation that we just don't feel comfortable having with our friends. Like, I've got friends, we've been friends 20 plus years. And sometimes taking inventory of our friendship, I realize we have never had any transparent, intimate, when I mean intimate, like close conversations where they bear parts of their emotional makeup. Thoughts that they have that nobody else knows, things they've experienced that they've never felt comfortable talking to anybody about. It's like as men, because sometimes we don't thrive on intimacy. Can I say that? Like sometimes we're not wired as emotional as our counterparts. Sometimes it's less common for us to have these sorts of conversations where we can just keep it a whole 100. With each other and find out things about each other that you never knew. And I think that's detrimental to us because it's very easy, young people, catch this, what I'm talking about. It's very easy a lot of times to have people that we form as muses or people that we look up to and we're like, man, this guy is it. I see a lot of rappers, for example, that look up to other rappers and then they get discouraged when these rappers, for example, don't recognize them. That happens in every scope of walk of life. I see it with young pastors. I see it with business leaders. I see it with musicians. I see it amongst athletes where, I was listening to an athlete the other day that was sharing part of his story was Shannon Sharpe, to be exact. When he got to Denver his rookie year, he was asking, he didn't know the play, so he asked one of the vets to, hey, what route do I want? And the veteran specifically gave him the wrong route to run because he viewed him as competition, and anything he could do to make him look bad, he thought was going to make his spot a little more solidified on the team. He thought that was what was going to help him make the team. And you see that. So sometimes there's this weird camaraderie that exists amongst us where maybe we're the ones that people are always talking to. But then the question that I posed is, if you're always the one that people are talking to, if you're always the one that people are coming to for help, who do you talk to for help? Who do you come to for strength? Who, when you were being tempted with some things that you need help overcoming, or maybe you've got some thoughts that have been lingering and dwelling in the back of your mind that, you know what, I know this is not right, but I'm going to entertain this a little bit because it's tied into my pleasure. You know, people find pleasure in a lot of different things. I'm going to go off a deep end with this one, but for example, sex sells. So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So that's letting me know that a lot of people are having thoughts in this area, right? Who am I to say that that doesn't creep in amongst some of my friends? Most of my friends are married. Who's to ever say that you don't have thoughts of, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to go too deep down this path, but I'm just trying to lay some groundwork that there sometimes are thoughts that do invade our mind that are contrary to God's full purpose for our life. And sometimes when you don't have that connection with people where you can share it, sometimes it hurts you. Because when you do have people that are understanding in your life, when you do have people that are experienced in your life, when you do have people that are growing with you, going the same direction you're going, yes, some things may be a little embarrassing that you're encountering, but you ultimately know that people that want the best for you are going to do the best for you and do right by you, so that when there are things you're dealing with, and I come to you and I say, man, you know what, I got a slight temper I need help with. You'd be surprised how some of the people you look up to, some of their greatest testimonies have been derived from some of what they've walked through in life. I could go on down the line, you know, athlete after athlete. Michael Jordan was cut and put on the junior varsity team in high school, and that slight alone propelled him to never be there before. And, you know, a lot of us that looked at Jordan from the outside in during my generation thought this man walked on air, thought he could do no wrong, thought that, you know, he was an icon that was bigger than life. But there have been very few athletes that have come along since him that have had that same work ethic, had that same drive, that same mentality, that saw a different side of Jordan. Now he's showing them parts of his game he didn't show everybody else. Because he had grown to a point of where he was, he got there from experience. He valued the sacrifice that he made that put him where he was at. So that's just not given to anybody. That's just not given to anybody. But I want to come back to the point at hand. It pays to have people in our life that are growing with us. You know, I make an analogy all the time. It's nothing for me to come back around people that maybe I grew up with, people that I've been knowing a long time, people that we used to do dirt together, or, you know, we walked down certain paths with. Now when you hear us together, our conversations aren't the same. Some of them are still hanging out at the club Wednesday night doing their thing, talking about Boo Baby and how good she looked. And oh my God, did you see her? And I'm less intrigued with that conversation because now I'm married and I've got kids, and that club is going to be there. That club has got no love for any of us. It's not making me a better man. It's not. When you step in the club and that bartender that knows what you like, they're not going to be the ones that's going to be there for you when things are going haywire. They're not going to be the ones that little cute outfit you bought just to show out and get a couple of pictures on social media and Snapchat. That's not going to build you as a person. And I'm not saying this negatively. I mean, if you do your thing, that's you. I'm not here to knock you for that. But what I am here to say is that sometimes you have to be positioned in situations with people that are going to get the best from you, that are going to speak into your life, and that even when you are challenged, even when you do have some things that you need to overcome, knowing that you do have people that can push you in some things, that can share their life experiences in a way that's able to restore you for better. Man, I keep hearing this time and time again, but it bears to note that sometimes that you gotta have people. You gotta have some people that you can sit down and you can just get some things off your chest. I got some friends that call me. I'm talking about stuff that's hot and heavy. I already know it because it's like, brother, I got to get this off my chest. Man, I can't even hold on to this. And I go in non-judgmental mode and I say, brother, whatever it is, let's talk about it. Because here's the reality, sometimes we don't realize that the grace that we extend to others is the grace that will be extended to us down the road. You know, oftentimes when we talk about the golden rule, when we talk about karma, that what you put out comes back to you, that's not always a negative thing. Sometimes when you extend grace to people, when you extend, honor, humility to others, when you extend transparency and help and a rope instead of a rod, when you give people hope, when you give people consideration, that's what's ultimately going to come back for yourself. So sometimes when you're looking at people that have been overcoming in a fall or people that are going through some things, and the first thing you want to offer is a word of judgment. Do know that your time is coming and that you ultimately reap what you sow. So with that said, guys, I want to pause real quickly and I want to get this advertisement out very quickly and then I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Portland and you're listening to the End Zone Club.
All right, guys, so we're back, and we're at the tail end of this conversation. But I wanted to say this. I wanted to have this topic of conversation because something I find myself and even my daily walk praying over the last few months is that God reveals people to me that I'm able to have that same effect with. People that when I am going through, whether it's sometimes bouncing ideas off of. Yes, I thank God for having a wife. My wife is phenomenal, a well of resources. As long as I have her, I will never be without friendship. Granted. But sometimes you do want to have other people in your life that you're able to bounce ideas off of because there are certain interests, or do we say interest, where you're at. But there are certain things that I like that maybe she's not inclined to liking, whether it's sports, whether it's, talk about military stuff. Some of us like going to the range and we like doing stuff and outdoorsy stuff. That's not really going to attract her as much. So in certain things, there are people that you want God to align you with in terms of your interests. Right? Like I'm a New York Knicks fan. Some of you guys might not be a Knicks fan. Maybe you like LeBron. Maybe you like Giannis. Maybe you like Anthony Davis. I don't know who you like, but the reality is we like sports and we're aligned in that area, and that I can support my team. You can support yours, which creates this dynamic that when we come together, we're going to do that. But on the same token, you want to have people in your life that hey, I need you to pray with me on this. I need you to listen to a couple of ideas I had and bounce some, constructive criticism, bounce some feedback, give me something back in terms of what we're talking about that I can take back to my drawing table and I can fine tune my vision a little better. These are important aspects of friendships. If you're not able to grow to that point where, that club was part of our life at one point. You know what I'm saying? Like hanging out, shooting the game at the mall on Saturdays at all the young ladies. That was the thing. But now we've matured. Now we've grown beyond that. Now we've grown past that. As I'm growing and I'm investing in new areas and avenues of life, are you growing with me? Can we now talk about this thing where I'm like, hey, bro, I think I wanna own my own business. Are you having similar thoughts? It's like, man, my wife is pregnant. We're getting ready to have a baby. What do I do? Are you starting to plan in that direction? Now, I know everybody is not fit to be parents. What I'm talking about is, are we going and growing in the same direction of life? Where now you realize, because of the walk we've had, you realize the sacrifices I've made as a man, to whether it's staying PT ready. That's why I like having military friends sometimes, because we push each other. It's like when I know my homeboy has been out running, when I know he's doing 3 sets of push-ups every day, he gets up, maybe he hits 25 in the morning, 25 before lunch, 25 before he goes to bed. When I know they're doing that, subconsciously, we're growing together, because now I am using you as a pacer, because you're motivated in this area, and I know this is an area that I need to stay fit. If I know you're doing push-ups, you better believe that now I'm doing push-ups as well. If I know that you started out and now it's October, and you know, hey, April, May's coming and we're going to knock this test open, and I know you're out there walking every day, guess what that's going to do for me? I wish I could hear you, but I know you're responsible. It's going to make me walk. You're right, it's going to make me walk, because we push one another. We're growing together, and we both understand the sacrifice that's conducive to be made to have a successful test. Same thing financially. If my friends are still blowing money on crazy purchases all the time, they're not thinking about it. They're making emotional purchases. Hey, I saw something I want. I had to cop that. Them new shoes that came out last night, I just thought about it. I had to cop. Sometimes you got to have people that's like, you know what? I know these new shoes are coming out, but I need this little bit put aside to, maybe pay for my articles of incorporation. This LLC I want. Guess what? This is what it's going to do for my family. But it can't do this for my family before I do this. Now, it puts you in this situation. You see where this direction your friend is growing. Is this where we stop growing together? Do I let that friend go off in business? I don't support that friend. I don't share anything that friend is posting. I don't tell anybody about this friend's business. To now, when it is, you know what I'm saying, when it's doing okay, now do I come back to that friend and ask for money? I think that's a slap in that friend's face, because they grew, they sacrificed, they got to that point they are. I did nothing but stood back and watched, and then now I come with my hand out. These are real realities of life, guys. But before we get out of here, I just want to thank you guys for, again, supporting, liking, loving, sharing, rating this podcast, supporting it, doing what you have done to make us where we are. When we first started this platform a little over a year ago, I did not expect to have any listeners, anybody that's been supporting. So, hey, I thank you. But before I go, if you guys listened to the last episode, I was sharing about the experience we had when we went to San Francisco and somebody knocked the windows out of our rental vehicle and stole some of our stuff. First thing first, in a weird sense of the word, one of the individuals that retrieved our stuff actually called into the show and shared a little about that experience. So before I get out of here, I got to drop this and then just tell you guys, you've been listening to the End Zone Club. Be sure to come back and enjoy the next episode.
Hey, Anthony. I haven't gotten to part 3 quite yet, but yeah, it was seeing your car keys in the bag. That was what made me be like, oh my gosh, we have to make sure that this gets taken care of. We live on a street not too far from the piers there, and people come and dump backpacks and stuff. This has happened a few different times, and we've taken things to the police station there a few different times now. But yeah, seeing your different patches and stuff in there, I was like, oh man, and I kept looking. I was hoping when I pulled out the military shirt there that it was going to have your name on it, and it didn't, and I was like, oh, come on, man. But just wanted to say I'm so glad to hear you got it back. Awesome.